Saludos a toda la afición de la lucha libre. Este que les habla es Michael Morales Torres, integrante del equipo de lucha libre online. Y tengo el honor de presentarles a mi invitado en la tarde de hoy, directamente desde Chicago, Illinois, para el mundo. Anteriormente conocido como Aiden English, actualmente Matt Rewald. Is that the correct pronunciation of your last name, sir?
Yeah, you got it great. Most people mess it up, so you did great, man.
Thank you so much, man. Matt, it's such an honor to have you as our guest. First of all, how you and the family is doing during this pandemic situation, in this coronavirus crisis in the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing okay. Luckily, just trying to keep busy. I've been doing a lot of work online and everything like that, but just staying, as kind of hibernated in as we can and staying safe and staying healthy.
Perfect. That's the important thing, just to stay in, to take your caution measures, and be safe during this complicated situation. Since you're in the East Coast, it's way messier than the rest of the world. How does this pandemic situation due to the COVID-19 affected your life so far?
So, I mean, in the same way it's affected a lot of people, like just, again, I haven't seen a lot of my family as much as I normally would. I don't get to, me and my wife love to go out to restaurants and things. That has obviously been affected. So your day to day. But then also just with my situation now, the hardest thing has been to, I, as a wrestler, as a personality and everything, after WWE, I wanted to hit the ground running and do shows and conventions and all that stuff. But obviously, that has also been put on a hold. So the hardest thing for me is just not being able to work. And I'm someone who loves to work, to be busy. And so with everything canceled or postponed, it's made it very hard for me to do my work. So I've dove into doing things a lot online, making content, and doing getting into my hobbies.
Yeah, it's basically everyone's problem currently. But you have a few projects going on. The first one is, I'm a huge fan of your Wrestling with Whisky YouTube channel. I think you're doing a great job offering the wrestling fans and the Scotch enthusiasts a different content. My question for you is, how did this passion for whiskey hunting in general came to you?
It was kind of a thing a couple of years ago. I was having a drink at home, and I was in my late 20s at this point, and I remember I wanted to have a drink. I didn't want to drink like a college kid anymore, right? I wasn't no more partying for me. So I was like, I just wanted to drink like an adult. And my father was a big Scotch fan, and would always just sip his Scotch slowly and without anything else in it, no soda, no nothing. And I was like, that seems like a very mature adult thing to do. So I wanted to learn how to do that. So I basically just trained myself to try drinking whiskey by itself with nothing else, just to kind of to grow up, if you will. And so, but then I fell in love with it, and as I looked more into it online and researching, there's a whole like community and world there that I never knew before.
Which are your current favorite whiskey brands? So you can be Scotch or American depending on your choosing. But in my case specifically, I love Macallan because it has such a sweet taste in terms of it's not that strong as maybe Glenfiddich, for example. And it's really, really, really nice. It's easy to drink neat in general. But in your case, which one is your favorite so far?
So my big focus is American whiskey and bourbon. So like I love stuff from Jim Beam. There's Knob Creek. I love Wild Turkey. I love a lot of their different releases, as well as Buffalo Trace. But I'm getting into Scotch more and more now. Like I said, my dad drinks it. I love Macallan's great. They've got some awesome stuff. I love Glenmorangie as well. And I'm trying to get into the, I don't know if you've had the peated scotches, those smoky, very earthy kind of scotches. Those are a little hard to drink, but they're very interesting.
To me, they are a little bit easier to drink compared to, for example, Jack Daniels. Bourbon is such much stronger, at least in my opinion.
Sure.
And if you start, as you said in one of your videos, maybe in my case, I started mixing it in Puerto Rico. They mix it with coconut water. I don't like it that much. So with Coke works perfectly. I don't know why the heck they do that, but yeah. With Coke, I started doing it that way, then on the rocks, and I just got used to the taste in general. But the bourbon in general, like perhaps for example Jack Daniels, it's sometimes so difficult to drink neat, like no ice, no anything. And I don't know how in your case you do it, but it's, I mean, it's years of doing this. It's years of it's more cultural in your case, more a family deal with your father.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was just something, like I said, it was kind of a thing I actually saw him do and kind of wanted to follow in those footsteps, and something that, yeah, that I've carried on now.
Perfect. So let's talk about pro wrestling in general. You made your debut in 2011 in pro wrestling. In just 1 year, you managed to sign with WWE. That's possibly, it's got to be some kind of goal or something because it was this fast, man. First of all, how was your experience in the independent circuit before signing with WWE?
Well, I mean, as you said, it was very short lived. And I think I'm a perfect example of knowing the right people and the right timing. Right? Like, I knock on wood a million times over. It's because I went down to Florida, which where FCW was at the time, right?
Yep.
And so where I trained was they did a night class on the side. Steve Kern, who ran FCW, offered a beginner's class to people who would just come in and train. And so I literally moved down there for that, and I
Cool.
trained under Norman Smiley for 3 months. And I think what did it for me was I had a knack for it. Norman could kind of see that, and so I worked really closely with him. Developed a really great relationship with Norman Smiley, and then after I came home, I worked a couple independents here in Chicago, maybe once a month for a few months, and then Norman Smiley had called me and said, "Hey, Talent Relations was asking about people, and I put your name out." He said, no promises, no guarantees, but I told him that I thought you were good and had a lot of talent, so we'll see what happens. And then, sure enough, about a couple weeks later, maybe a month, uh, Ty Bailey at the time and then John Laurinaitis reached out and they took a chance on me and offered me a deal, and I feel very lucky.
Amazing, man. It was so fast because, as we mentioned, 2011 to 2012 is just 1 year. Many people struggle in the independent circuit for 10, 20, 25 years until they make it to the biggest company in the world right now, which is WWE. My question for you is the following. You are a Chicago guy, northern, eastern part of the U.S., cold as hell. How was that transition from moving from Chicago to Florida for you?
It
If
was,
that weather is crazy.
oh yeah, man. So like it gets warm here in Chicago, but when I moved to Florida, I sweat through my sheets, my bed sheets, for like 3 weeks in a row, like every single night. I turned the air conditioning down low, low, low every night. Still sweated through my sheets. It was terrible. My apartment smelled awful. um, but so it took a little while. And I also like weird thing about me, man. I never wear shorts. Like I wear jeans all year, everywhere. And so
Even
like,
in summer.
oh yeah,
Oh.
I had a weird thing about my legs. And I don't know. It was so but in Florida, I had to change. It was just I was sticking to all my pants, and it was bad. But I got used to it. Took a year or two before I really finally kind of settled in.
In case of Puerto Rico, it's even warmer than Florida. Right now, it's like 100, 101 degrees possibly, and it's 5:13 p.m. Florida's weather is really, really complicated because at 1 hour it can be that warm, and suddenly it starts raining and thunderstorms, and what the hell is going on? The end of the world is coming. But it's kind of complicated to adjust, and more to a Chicago guy, since you mentioned you were used to cold, the long jeans and everything. It must it's such a huge change in general. To you, is it was worth it moving to Florida to start working with the WWE?
I mean, yeah, I would have moved to Alaska, for the opportunity to work with WWE. That's how much I love, wrestling and sports entertainment, and how much I love WWE. That was my goal as a kid. I couldn't believe it was happening. So I would have gone to the end of the earth for it.
And before you started wrestling and everything, you did a bachelor degree in arts, specifically in acting, which explains a lot of your flawless way of speaking in the promos, of way of basically selling every move. It works perfect acting in pro wrestling. But in your case and with your experience, how did you manage to mix things?
Well, like you said, I mean, I kind of chose to study acting in college because I knew my end goal was to be a pro wrestler, and I knew, you know, it's a lot of it is entertainment, and it's speaking in front of crowds, it's captivating people, it's playing a persona, and so I figured this was a great path for me. I knew my parents just wanted me to go to college. That was one of their rules. If I was going to go do wrestling, that you have to go to college. Study anything you want, but please go to college. And so I said, well, I'm going to study something that's going to help me be good on TV, on film, in front of a live crowd. So to me, it works perfectly because what we do is a form of acting, of performance. And so just to kind of extend that from the theater and everything into wrestling was super easy.
One of the co-owners of the brand, Hugo Savinovich, is always saying that pro wrestlers in general need to take acting lessons as a plus to enter into this industry. And you came with that background to WWE. That's why you had an amazing 8-year run with the company. During those years, you wrestler names like Bray Wyatt, for example, Randy Orton, many tag team wrestlers like the Usos, New Day, Rusev, among many, many, many other names. Hell, you even managed to face Paige in an intergender tag team match on FCW. So you basically wrestled everyone. However, 8 years is a lot of time. People change, the mindset changes and evolves. Which was the match that changed your perspective about pro wrestling while being in WWE, and why?
That's a tough one because, like you said, I mean, I had a lot of opportunities to wrestle a lot of people. Um, I can't pick one match, but I can tell you like a series of matches. And to be fair, I was not even in them. But while I was part of Rusev Day, for
Yeah.
example, Rusev, and Randy Orton would wrestle a lot at house shows and on tour. And so often I was on the outside, I was the manager, you know, and things like that. But watching someone like Randy Orton, who I think is one of the best wrestlers going right now, just from he has everything down to a science. Watching him perform night in and night out, like 4 or 5 nights in a row, being that up close and watching how he puts a match together, that made certain things click for me that I never realized. Just being able to tell a story and move slower than you think you need to move, you know, do less than you think you need to do, really build it, get the crowd into it. So just watching him really taught me a lot.
Yeah, and you made a huge transition because at least I've been working in the pro wrestling scene for a while in backstage roles, but so far, uh, the ego of a pro wrestler in general, man, that can be a huge deal breaker sometimes. And you managed to go from pro wrestler to manager without showing any madness or making a scene about the thing or making a rant in Twitter. And then you made a transition as a commentator, and you did flawlessly in each and every role. But the three of them were so different; they were apart from each one. How was those transitions for you? Did you have the opportunity to have a saying in that? For example, did you choose specifically to work with Rusev as a manager, or to work as a commentator, or who was the person who decided that? And how was that experience for you?
Well, so as far as just how to handle those things and everything, to me, I think you have to look at things as everything is an opportunity. Even if it feels like it's a sidestep or it's not exactly what you had planned, if you open your mind to say, you know, yes, I'll take it and I'm going to make it the best I can. Because sometimes fighting someone and telling someone no, 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 you'll hit a brick wall at some point. So if
Yeah.
you can embrace it and make it even better than what it was originally, I think that's the key. So that's my philosophy always. So I wrestled and I wanted to be the best I could be. Then when they paired us up with Rusev, which It wasn't something either one of us sought out, but it kind of just was good timing. So because Rusev was doing his thing with Randy, and then I had wrestled Randy a few times, and we just had a little interaction there. And then they were like, "Okay, hey, come back next week, and we're going to do this ceremony thing, the Rusev Day, the first one." And I did that, and we thought that would be it. But then they thought it was funny, so let's do it again next week. And then every week, and then it just grew, and obviously everyone started chanting it, and it grew in popularity. So that kind of game, that just fell into our laps as well, and I feel grew really naturally. The audience just loved that, and then the transition to commentary was just another opportunity. Tom Phillips, who was the manager of the on-air commentators, kind of just approached me and offered it to me as an opportunity. Not saying to not wrestle or anything, but he's just like, I think you could be good at this too. If you want to come try it out, come down to the Performance Center. We can try it. I think that would be great. I said, okay. And then I tried it one time thinking that was it. And then the next week at SmackDown, Michael Cole called me into his office and said, okay, we're going to put you on 205 Live for the next couple of months. Good luck and have fun. And then we'll reassess in a few months. And I was like, okay. And then yeah, man, I kind of just dove in head first, and thank God for guys like Nigel McGuinness and Vic Joseph, who kind of led me by the hand and taught me so much. I love those guys so much, and it was because of guys like them and Tom and Michael that I really actually started to enjoy the job more than I expected to. I thought it was something I would do for a month or two as a little side gig, and then be done. But I really wanted to keep going into it. That was my choice. Once we got to like WrestleMania 35, I said to Michael Cole, let's keep going, because I think I could be good at this, and I think it could be something that could help me down the line. And so I really embraced that transition.
And not many people are good at that role. Many wrestlers have tried a few times to be a commentator. Samoa Joe right now is nailing it, and you nailed it. But there are a small list of the wrestlers that tried it and failed. You did great. Joe is doing great. And that transition was healthy because you were open to learning, which made it more easier so far. Regarding your role in WWE, manager, wrestler, and in this case commentator, which one you prefer, or which one was more challenging, and why?
So wrestling and the managing, that whole performance, that came very naturally. And so like they're all challenging, but I will say learning commentary, the curve was a bit higher for me because there were a lot more to it than I think a lot of wrestlers and a lot of people think. Like there's more little rules and subtleties to calling a match, and especially like when you have three people in a booth, volleying back and forth with all the voices and letting people speak and tell stories. There's a lot more to it than people understand. So I think that was actually the most unique challenge for me. But man, there's nothing like going out there and actually performing it as a pro wrestler or as an entertainer. Those WrestleMania crowds, all those live audiences. That was definitely my favorite.
Okay. In case of, I had the opportunity to speak with Leo Rush, and he mentioned that in this point of his life, after his WWE release in April, he's more focused on music than pro wrestling. And there are many people doing their projects right now. What's going on in Matt's mind right now? I mean, you have your Twitch channel, which is doing great so far. You have your Wrestling with Whisky. Tell us a little bit about your projects, and after you do that, are you willing to return to the square circle again?
Sure. But yeah, I mean, it's like we talked about earlier with everything going on in the world right now, kind of stuck at home. So I've really dove into doing a lot of internet content and bolstering my Wrestling with Whisky stuff, YouTube channel, doing a lot of reviews, interviews with people. I did a great chat with Seamus, talked about Irish whiskey and stuff. I've also then dipped into like Patreon, where I continue to do more whiskey content, but also include like fitness. Like I'm designing routines for certain patrons and pairing a whiskey with their workout, fun stuff like that. We're gonna do some some live chats. That's a Wrestling with Whisky Patreon. And then, yeah, man, you know, I see Xavier Woods doing it. Obviously, Rusev does it now. And I'm like, I love video games. So let me dive into the Twitch thing. Like I said, I can't sit still. I got to stay busy. But, man, I cannot wait for the opportunity to return to a wrestling show, to a live audience. Yes, that is absolutely in my future, in my plans. Whenever, wherever, you know, when people can start having shows again, I am there.
Aiden English tiene ahora mismo, en este caso Matt Revolt, tiene un canal de YouTube llamado Wrestling with Whisky, excelente, les recomiendo que se suscriban ahora mismo. Además de eso, tiene un proyecto en twitch.tv/DramaKingMatt, también le vamos a dejar las descripciones en los comentarios. También, además de eso, tiene su Patreon, de igual manera, bajo su nombre real, Matt Revolt. Sus redes sociales, Drama King Matt en Instagram, Twitter, está también en... Do you have Facebook also, right?
Yes, but I'll be honest, that it's just linked to Instagram. So if you got Instagram, you're good.
Perfect. So just follow Matt in his social media. But let's speak about your unfortunate WWE release on April specifically. After 8 years, you, as Slater said, and I quote, "I'm out of the cage." So Slater mentioned that he was out of the cage. Many people were happy and not happy at the same time. Were a little bit shocked. But we've seen your work. It's amazing. And I'm pretty sure many companies, both in the independent circuit and main companies in the US, would love to have you. For example, AAA in Mexico, you'll be a perfect fit for them. CMLL in Mexico. Yeah, there's GWE in Panama. Wrestling Superstar in Chile, among many, many others, Imperio in Peru. And in the US, Impact Wrestling is just around the corner with their event Slammiversary. There are a lot of companies, AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, MLW, and if we keep going on and on and on, we will never finish. Literally, the world is your oyster. Are you interested particularly in one company, or what are your future plans in terms of pro wrestling?
I mean, right now, like you said, I mean, I started and was right to WWE with, you know, with that timing. So that's kind of the only world I've ever really known. And so right now, everything has just opened up. The options are like everything you just named is all incredible. So I'm not leaning any one way. I want to talk to everyone. I want to see and experience everything. I want to do a lot of international stuff because that was one of my favorite things is seeing crowds and meeting people all around the world. So that's one of my big goals is to travel all around the world wrestling and stuff. So I'm open to any and every opportunity.
So since you're open to everything, you're married to Shaul Guerrero, Eddie Guerrero's daughter. She was in the ring for a while. She was working also, I think, as an announcer for Shimmer. I'm afraid I say, is that the company?
She works for WOW.
WOW, Women of Pro Wrestling. Yeah. Are you interested maybe in working something with your wife in the companies all around the world?
I mean, people have asked us before, and like we've talked about it at home, and there's this balance. I'm like, well, that it's easy, you know, it's a built-in story. There's such great characters there between the two of us and the real life kind of background of it. But then it's also like separation of work and home.
Yes.
You know, I don't want to bring we don't want to bring work home with us. But as I will always say in wrestling, never say never.
Just give it some time and we will see where we will see Matt. Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor. There are a lot of possibilities. We'll just need to stay tuned. Matt, it's been such an honor to have you as our guest. Last but not least, what message can you send to all the fans out there that are looking to start or are pursuing a career in pro wrestling, but they don't know where to start, how to start, where to go? What can you say to them?
The biggest thing is because people ask, that's a great question. People ask that all the time. I would say there's two key things that I think everybody, you know, can start with as a basis. One, research your wrestling school. There's a lot of people in that business who will try to take advantage of you. So always look for something very reputable. Trainers and stuff who have been in the business, who have been successful in the business. So that is number one. Make sure you look into your schools and where to train. And number two, take care of your body. not, we are in a world, and it's great. Not everybody has to be a 6'8" bodybuilder. We know that, absolutely. But work out, whatever it is, go running, but take care, be healthy. Because this body is your tool. That is going to be your paintbrush in this art form. And if it breaks, you will no longer be able to make a living. So take care of your body and research your tool. Those are my two biggest pieces of advice.
So it's basically a combination of body, mindset, passion, and having the correct education to achieve their dream as you did. You went to did a bachelor degrees in acting. You'll have the perfect body for this profession, and just have the passion. And once they get in the ring, cuando entren al ring, they're gonna know if that's or this sports entertainment stuff is for them or not. I've tried it. It's definitely not for me. I don't like being in the sport circle. It's like I trained for 2 years. Yeah, it's nice, but I did it more to see what you guys went through when everyone's this wrestling stuff is fake. It's like no, it's not fake. Let me check it out first, and then I'll tell you if it's fake or not. Oh man, those bumps that it hurts. It hurts like hell. Trust me. So para todos ustedes allá, una vez entren al cuadrilátero van a saber si les gusta o no y pues como dice Matt, educación, siempre la mentalidad correcta, tener esa pasión por la vida, tener el físico correcto, hacer ese ejercicio y lo demás es historia. Matt, we thank you so much for the opportunity and for the chat. We wish you the best of luck during this independent run for the first time in 8 years, and we know you're gonna nail it, man. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.